is if you have an object, say a box sitting on a table, the box has multiple forces on it, even though it's not moving. Maybe there is a force of gravity. There's definitely a force of gravity pulling down on it. The table is pushing back. That's what this arrow going up is. There could be some breeze blowing from either direction. But the point is, even though it's not moving, and even though we can't see them, there are multiple forces affecting this object all at one time. Now, something else to consider is that force is measured in something called newtons. And we abbreviate that with a capital N. So whenever you see a capital N, that's referring to newtons. Okay? So maybe there's 3 newtons bearing down, 3 newtons of gravitational force bearing down on the box, and the table's exerting 3 newtons in return. Since these two directions are going the opposite direction of one another, they cancel each other out. And when we have them going opposite directions, we would set up an equation like this. 3 newtons minus 3 newtons equals 0 newtons, not on. Now 0 newtons is what we call our net force. And this is a simple equation because we could factor in those other forces that we looked at earlier that were coming from the other directions. But we're just keeping it with 2 here. But when you consider all the forces and figure out what the total resultant force is, that's called a net force. Looking at the same box, let's imagine this time that we have 2 forces moving in the same direction. So this time we have one that's 2 newtons and another one that's 3 newtons. If we want to figure out what the net force is, this time since they're going the same way, we're going to add them together. So we take 2 newtons plus 3 newtons. Again, even though they're going the same direction, this is still referred to as the net force. So the sum total of all the forces is the net force here. Finally, bear in mind that if you have a net force of 0 newtons, then your object isn't going to be moving because the forces are balanced. They equal out. So that's a balanced force. If the object is not moving, you have balanced forces. But if the net force is not 0 and the forces don't balance out, then you have unbalanced forces. So whenever you have an unbalanced force, the object is moving.